Good morning and happy July. My shirt kind of gives 4th of July vibes, but if you know, you know. But I like the red, white, and royal blue. Yep. I recently did a collective book haul, so I've added some books to my shelves. I also unhauled a couple books, and I will unhaul some more. I was curious because I've been curious, honestly, for the past year or so, how many physical books that I have on my physical TBR, and I keep adding books to my physical TBR. Like too many. So I was like, okay, I should probably count how many books are on my physical TBR, and why not make a video of it? I love watching these videos, and I have a feeling it's going to take a long time to film and probably a longer time to edit, but I will try to speed through it. But we're going to go through every single book on my shelf. I'm standing currently in front of these two shelves that I have read most of what are on there. This side will go by faster. Okay, so I'm just going to move the camera all the way to the edge. And then we're gonna see if we can go up another level. Here's to hoping this stays, but I have read all of the selection books. So the entire selection series, the selection, the elite, the one, the heir, the crown, as well as the little novellas and happily ever after. You probably can't even see that, but I have read all of those books. I have read Heartless Hunter. I believe, I'm trying to remember if I read all of the Mortal Instruments, all 6 books, or not. I'm not going to reread them anytime soon, so I'm going to count them as read, okay? So, City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire I have read. We're going to say that. I have not read Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. If my plant is in the way, I apologize. Here, let me remove it. Oh, that's kind of sad. With no plan. Anyway, I funnily enough have not read Clockwork Angel yet, so I plan to read this sometime soon. I have not read The Bane Chronicles. I also want to read that pretty soon. I have not read Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, or Queen of Air and Darkness. I've not read either of these. I think it's the Dark Artifices series. I haven't read those yet. So of this shelf, I have not read 6 books out of 20 books I have not read. By the way, I'm going to be keeping track on my phone. That way at the end, I can just add instead of like trying to count all over again. So we're going to move on to the next shelf. This is a shelf of books that I have read 100% of, and I am so excited about that. But Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows I've read. I read An Ember in the Ashes, and I've got multiple copies of these books, but An Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, A Reaper at the Gates, and A Sky Beyond the Storm. And this is A Torch Against the Night again, like such a pretty cover. I have read Powerless, Reckless, Fearless, and Powerful. I have read Cruel Crown, Red Queen, Glass Sword, King's Cage, and War Storm. So 100% of the 15 books I have read. I did not count the duplicates because there's no need to. So I read 15 of the 15. This is a shelf of books that I haven't read most of. But I have read the Shatter Me series. I don't remember if I read the novellas, but I'm gonna count it because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't be reading it right now. But I will do a Shatter Me reread at some point. I have read Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, Restore Me, Define Me, Imagine Me, Unite Me, Believe Me, and Find Me. I have not read Watch Me. This is just a duplicate of Shatter Me, which I've read. I have read Children of Blood and Bone. I have not read Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I haven't read the Wicked books. I have not read any of the Throne of Glass book. I read Twilight, and I've actually looked through this Charmed book, but it doesn't count because it's kind of like a coffee table book, but I have it here because it's a small coffee table book. So I've read 11 of the 22 books, not counting the duplicates on this shelf. So I've read half of the shelf, which is really exciting. And then this I have read most, all except one. So I have read Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath. I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury, Wings and Ruin, Frost and Starlight, Silver Flames. This is just a duplicate copy of Sky and Breath. I have read House of Flame and Shadow. I read Daughter of No Worlds, but not Mother of Death and Dawn. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is just a duplicate. I read Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. So I have read 13 of the 14 separate books on the shelf. I read 13 out of 14, which is really excited. The only reason I have some books here, like I have the Throne of Glass series here because I'm gonna read it this year and I'm gonna move it over here anyway. And then I have Mother of Death and Dawn because I don't like these are series and they're fantasy and they're pretty big books, so I want them to have their spot on the shelf basically. Okay, we are gonna move on to this shelf. Oh, I hope you can see it. Oh my goodness. I apologize, the tops are kind of cut off, but honestly, the top shelves, it's fine. I've read everything from here to this side. So I have read Emily Henry's Funny Story, Happy Place, Beach Read, Book Lovers, People We Meet on Vacation. I also have You and Me on Vacation, which is just the UK version of People We Meet on Vacation, so I'm not going to count that. I have read Verity, Layla, Heartbones, Ugly Love, November 9, It Starts With Us and It Ends With Us, and I just have Verity on display. I have not read, the rest are Colleen Hoover. I have not read Reminders of Him, Regretting You, Never Never with Taryn Fisher, Maybe Someday, Maybe Now, Without Merit, Point of Retreat, Confess, Hopeless, Slammed, Losing Hope, or All Your Perfects. And I also have the collector's edition of It Ends With Us up top. So on this shelf, I have read 12 of, I have read 12 books of 24 books, so pretty 50% down the middle there. Moving down to the next book, I've got Red, White, and Royal Blue. I've read everything on the shelf, by the way, so 100%. So Red, White, and Royal Blue, I Kiss Shara Wheeler, One Last Stop. Here's another copy of Red, White, and Royal Blue. Kiss Her Once for Me, The Simple Wild, Icebreaker, Wildfire, Daydream, Every Summer After, This Summer Will Be Different, Meet Me at the Lake, The 7-Year Slip, A Novel Love Story, Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, The Unhoneymooners, and Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. So I have read 16, not counting the duplicates, books on this shelf. I can't wait to get to the end to see, 1, how many total books that I have, and 2, what percentage of books, physical books that I have that I've actually read. So I'm really excited for that. Moving down 1, I have read all but 2 on the shelf. So I have read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I have read Daisy Jones and the Six, Malibu Rising. Here's another copy of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This Could Be Us, Before I Let Go. I have not read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, but I will read it in July. I have read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, The Romance Recipe by Ruby Barrett, The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. I loved this book, by the way. 7 Days in June, Best Laid Plans by Erin Hawkins. This is one of the first books that I read when I started getting back into reading. So I almost forgot that I had it and that I had read it. And I found it at Goodwill randomly one day and I was like, oh my goodness, I remember that. Anyway, you didn't need to know that. My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey, Hook, Line, and Sinker, It Happened One Summer, Fangirl Down, The Au Pair Affair. I have not read Dream Girl Drama, but I will fairly soon. Secretly Yours, Unfortunately Yours, They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera, and The Midnight Library by Matt. So on this shelf, I have read 23 of 25 books. Ooh, that's so exciting. So almost everything on that shelf. Okay, on this shelf, good, you can see it. On this shelf, I'm editing this video right now and I'm about to talk about these 3 books right here. Touch of Heaven, Taste of Hell, and 6 Feet Under. I know the author who writes these books, so I personally haven't read them because a little bit too close, but I still recommend these books. They are on Kindle Unlimited. You can read them. They are amazing. I personally haven't read them yet, but they are on display on my shelf because yes. Okay. Touch of Heaven, please read this book. Taste of Hell, read that book. They're all on Kindle Unlimited as well as 6 Feet Under. They're so good, you should read them. So on this shelf, I have read The Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, Things We Left Behind, Things We Hide from the Light, Things We Never Got Over. I don't know why I have them reversed, by the way. A Not So Meet Cute, So Not Meant to Be, A Long Time Coming, Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hates, Twisted Lies, If the Sun Never Sets, and If We Ever Meet Again, as well as the Mind F series. So of this shelf, I have read 15 of 18 books. So that's so exciting. And honestly, I could just say 18 of 18. But coming down to this final shelf, I've also read 100% of books on this shelf. So I've got A Little Life by Hanya Yanagara, Archer's Voice, If Only I Had Told Her, If He Had Been With Me, Me Before You, The Dinner List, In 5 Years, Conversations with Friends, Little Fires Everywhere, Throttled, and Collided. So I have read all 11 books on this shelf. So 11 of 11. The very bottom shelf is literally just coloring books. If you can't see me, that's fine. I do have to hold this up because nothing on these shelves moving forward except the final shelf, the thriller shelf, I have read. So everything is unread, which makes for counting very easy. So I've got Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, What's Mine and Yours, Just for the Summer, This Spells Love, Sky Falling, Lessons in Chemistry, Will Smith's memoir, Rose McGowan's memoir, Brave, The Other Black Girl, Yerba Buena. Then these are, I would say, spicier books, except this, by the way. But A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, Anything He Wants, and Castaway. These are 2 books in one. Rush, Fever, Burn by Maya Banks, Tempted, The Space Before Us, and Switch by Megan Hart, The Wallflower by J.L. Beck, Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue, Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, Playing for Keeps by Kendall Ryan, Into the Fire by Meredith Weil, and I only have If Love Had a Price by Anna Huang here because I was going to read that pretty soon. So I took it out of down here and then it's too much work to put it back. So I'm going to read it pretty soon. But of this shelf, I have not read 24, and 25 books. I have not read any of the 25 books on that very top shelf. Moving down to the next bookshelf, I already, as you can see, am like stacking some up top because I'm running out of room because I have too many books that I have not read yet and I don't want to move them over there quite yet. But we've got Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola, 1,000 Heartbeats by Kiera Cass, The Betrothed and the Siren by Kiera Cass. I have 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole, Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I'm actually really excited to read this, but I have a feeling, just like everybody else, once I read this, I'm going to want to go into the rest of the series, and I'm not ready for that. So I'm putting it off intentionally because I'm not ready to like go into the 5 or 7 books now. I'm not ready yet. Plus, it's like pretty heartbreaking stuff. I have Heartstopper volumes 1, 3, and 4. So I need volume 2. I have Autobiography by Christina Lauren, Sweet Filthy Boy by Christina Lauren, Beautiful Player by Christina Lauren, and a recent find is my favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I kind of want to read that sooner. I feel like it's more summery. Then I have 3 books by Helen Huang. I have The Kiss Quotient, The Bride Test, and The Heart Principle. 2 books by Ali Hazelwood. I have The Love Hypothesis and Love Theoretically. Elle Kennedy, I have The Deal, The Mistake, Misfit, and Body Check. And then the rest of the Simple Wild series, I have Wild at Heart, Running Wild, and Forever Wild. I actually also want to get to these books pretty soon. I have a couple books by Abby Jimenez, but Just for the Summer is a duplicate because I also have the hardcover. So I have The Friend Zone and Just for the Summer here. Then I have 2 books by Becca Mack, Play With Me and Consider Me. Those are in the Playing for Keeps series. Then I have The Striker by Anna Huang, King of Wrath, King of Pride, King of Greed, King of Sloth, and King of Envy. And last but not least, If We Were Perfect by Anna Huang. So of this shelf, and I'm not going to count Just for the Summer just because it's a duplicate, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35 books that I have not read. This bookshelf audit is making me rethink a lot of things, and all these books I'm like excited to read. I'm only one person. When am I going to get to these? Anyway, moving on. We're going to go to the next shelf here. I have Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, Chase Me, Make Me by Tessa Bailey, Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I have 3 Elena Armas books, The Fiancé Dilemma, The American Roommate Experiment, and The Spanish Love Deception. I have Paris Dalian Court is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall, Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. I have The Pairing by Casey McQuiston, Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell, Never Kiss Your Roommate by Philly Harms, New Adult by Timothy Janofsky, I'm not going to say the author's name for all of these, but Written in the Stars, Credence by Penelope Douglas, Dream on Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. A bunch of Lucy Score books here. We've got Forever Never, By a Thread, The Worst Best Man, Mr. Fixer Upper, The Dead Guy Next Door, The Blast from the Past, The Corpse in the Closet, The Body in the Backyard, Heart of Hope. Then we go into Lauren Asher. This are book 3 and 4 in the Dirty Air series, Wrecked and Redeemed. And then I have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, my Elsie Silver, the Chestnut Springs series. So I've got Flawless, Heartless, Reckless, Powerless, and Hopeless. And then some more Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have Carrie Soto's Back, Maybe in Another Lifetime, and One True Loves. So all of these are unread. So of the shelf, I have not read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have not read 37 of the 37 books on this shelf. Okay, moving down. I've got One Italian Summer. Hang on. Don't focus on me. Focus on the books, please. Don't mind me. You're just going to see my head. Okay, look at the book. I've got One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle, Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, The Only Purple House in Town, The Edge of Falling, Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman, Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan, Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult, Final Offer by Lauren Asher, Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, 5 Years From Now by Paige Toon, Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Paige Toon, The Rule Book by Sarah Adams, The Hating Game, 99% Mine, and Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne, Under the Sycamore Tree by B. Celeste, Falling for Gage and Grayson's Vow by Mia Sheridan, The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout, Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson, Some of It Was Real, The Ex Talk, The Proposal, While We Were Dating, The Wedding Date, The Wedding Party, Party of Two, all by Jasmine Guillory, The Stand-In by Lily Chu, Curves for Days, Fake It Till You Bake It, Savor It, and Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, Single Black Female, The Girl with the Louding Voice, An American Marriage, The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, The Immortalists, The Plus One by Sarah Archer, The Layover by Lacey Walden, Jojo Moyes Still Me, and After You. So on this shelf, I have not read 41. I have not read 41 of the 41 books on this shelf. I will read One Italian Summer soon though. That was one of my TBR books that I just didn't read in June. Moving down, can you see? I have also not read any of the books on this shelf. So we're just gonna start. I've got Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkinson, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, Dear Edward, Within Arm's Reach by Ann Napolitano, Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, The Roommate by Rosie Dannon, The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, and The Bookshop of Second Chances. Then I've got Rebecca Yarros, In the Likely Event, Full Measures, The Last Letter, and The Things We Leave Unfinished. These are her contemporary non-fantasy books. Then I've got the Bridgerton collection here. I've got The Duke and I, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, The Viscount Who Loved Me, On the Way to the Wedding, An Offer from a Gentleman, When He Was Wicked, and Happily Ever After. For some reason I started collecting these books, and here we are. We're collecting the books now. I watched one episode of Bridgerton and didn't continue, and now I'm like, should I watch the show or should I read the books? Our Missing Hearts. Then we go into our Kristen Hanna selection here. I've got Distant Shores, The Things We Do for Love, Home Again, True Colors, The Four Winds, The Nightingale, Night Road, and Firefly Lane. Then we go into Frederick Bachman. We've got Beartown, My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, A Man Called Ove, Anxious People, Britt Mayer Was Here, Us Against You, and then one more Kristen Hanna book, The Women, because yeah. So on this shelf, I have not read 36. I have not read 36 of the 36 books on this shelf. Again, this bookshelf audit is telling me I have too many books for one person, but I'm excited to read them all, you know? Anyway, let's just scooch on over here. Okay, since we're already on the floor, we might as well stay on the floor. So this is my fantasy shelf, and the very top is YA, but we'll go up there as we go. So I have Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth, Fallen Kingdoms, and Rebel Spring by Morgan Rhodes, Crave and Crush by Tracy Wolff. I've got Crave twice because I have the paperback and then 2 hardbacks. I've got Scythe and Thundered, A Whole New World, As Old as Time, Seeing Red, The Looking Glass Wars, Those Beyond the Wall, Stepsister, House of Hollow, which this book is still so stunning. Like, oh my goodness, I love this book so much. The Gilded Ones, The Shadow in the Glass, The Lost Bookshop, The Hunger Games, What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertelli, which I also want to read this book pretty soon. Infinity Sun, Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and Stalking Jack the Ripper, all by Carrie Maniscalco. On the shelf, I have not read 23. I have not read 23 of the 23 books on the shelf that are not duplicate. Moving up one, we continue our fantasy shelf. We've got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, Hex by Emily McIntyre, For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, Neon Gods by Katie Robert, Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert, Sisters of Sword and Song by Rebecca Ross, Charm by Sarah Pinborough. This author writes thrillers, so I was curious to see what this book is about, and it's a very short novella, so maybe I will read it fairly soon, but it's a wicked Cinderella tale. The Lost Apothecary, The London Seance Society, The Ex-Hex, When the Moon Hatched, So This Is Ever After, Daughter of the Pirate King, Blade of Secrets, Circe by Madeline Miller, Frostblood, Brandon Sanderson's Steelheart, The Discovery of Witches trilogy, which is flipped. So let me switch this around. So, A Discovery of Witches, Shadow of Night, The Book of Life, The Serpent and Dove trilogy as well. So Serpent and Dove, Blood and Honey, God and Monsters. On the shelf, I have not read any of these books. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24. I have not read 24 of the 24 books on the shelf. Whew, now we stand up. Moving right along, we have more fantasy. I have all of Marissa Meyer's books here. I've got Renegade, Cinder. I do have 2 copies. Scarlet Crest, Stars Above, Winter, and Ferris. I've got Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Death Note, just like a random copy of Death Note that I found, and it's an all black edition. I love the all black sprayed edges. Then I have Belladonna, Curse of the Night Witch, Light Lark, Bloodmarked, Legend Born, Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising, Six of Crows, Cricket Kingdom, The Serpent in the Wings of Night, Caraval, Queen of Nothing, The Cruel Prince, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, as well as A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. So on the shelf, I have not read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have not read 25 of the 25 books on the shelf. Moving up, we have more books that I have not read. We have Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. So Once Upon a Broken Heart, The Ballad of Never After, A Curse for True Love. Then we have Our Infinite Fates, The 13th Child, Ink Blood Sister Scribe, The City We Became, A Fate Inked in Blood, The Familiar, Ninth House, and Hellbent, all by Leigh Bardugo, Immortal Longings, These Violent Delights, Homecoming, Defy the Night, Starbringer, The End and Other Stories, Stories from the Future, by Veronica Roth, Chosen Ones, also by Veronica Roth, The Priority of the Orange Tree, Atlas 6, Never by Jessa Hastings, A Breaking of Realms by Jasmine Young, and Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. So on the shelf, I have not read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have not read 23 of the 23 books on the shelf. And then at the very top, we have young adult and memoirs. So we'll start here. My aunt wrote a book. I have not read it yet, but this is Candy of Freedom, Know My Name, No Ashes in the Fire, The Hate You Give, Born a Crime, So You Want to Talk About Race, Becoming, Finding Me, Dreams from My Father. Then we have The Kite Runner and The Mountains Echoed, Americana, Girl in Pieces, The Way I Used to Be. I have technically read these. So The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, We'll Always Have Summer, Always and Forever Laura Jean, P.S. I Still Love You, To All the Boys I Loved Before, Everything Everything, The Sun Is Also a Star, Instructions for Dancing, The Passing Playbook, and You've Reached Sam. So I forget which of this series that I read. So it's either one of this and then book 1. So I think I read To All the Boys I Loved Before and then The Summer I Turned Pretty. Don't quote me. But I'm going to count these as read because I'm not going to reread them. Okay. So of this shelf, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 25 books. Now we can move on to our final shelf, our thriller shelf / holiday books that are at the very bottom. But I have read The Silent Patient, Where the Crawdads Sing, Behind Closed Doors, Rock, Paper, Scissors, The Last Thing He Told Me, The Wife Between Us, Local Woman Missing, The Couple Next Door, Outfox, Behind Her Eyes, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl Bad Blood, As Good as Dead, Lock Every Door. I have read all these books by Frida McFadden. So The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, The Housemaid is Watching, The Housemaid's Wedding, The Boyfriend, Never Lie, Ward D, The Inmate, and The Teacher. So on this shelf, I've read 100% of these books. I'm not going to count the Silent Patient twice. So 1, 2, 3. I have read 23 of the 23 books on that shelf. Moving down to the next shelf, we've got The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. I have not read any of these books. So we've got The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth, The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth, Darling Girls and The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, The Last Party by A.R. Torre, Watch Me Disappear by Janelle Brown, Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll, Tell Me by Lisa Jackson, The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, Never Tell by Lisa Gardner, Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney, Final Girls by Riley Sager, The Fury and the Maidens by Alex Michaelides, A Flicker in the Dark, An Anonymous Girl, You Are Not Alone, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, Awake the Cellar, You Will Be Mine, The Cabin, The Lost, all by Natasha Preston, Hello Sunshine by Laura Dave, Two Can Keep a Secret, One of Us is Lying, One of Us is Next, and The Cousins by Karen M. McManus, all by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have The Inheritance Games, The Hawthorne Legacy, The Final Gambit, The Brothers Hawthorne, and The Grandest Game. I have not read any of these books, so 1, 2, 3, 33 books. I have not read 33 of the 33 books. We're gonna move down. Okay, like I said, don't mind if you can't see me because you don't need to see me. But I've got Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, Murder in the Orient Express, and Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, The Thinnest Air by Minka Kent, The Love of My Life and Ghosted by Rosie Walsh, The Mystery Guest and The Maid by Nita Prose, The Paris Apartment, The Guest List, and The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, When No One Was Watching by Alyssa Cole, Everyone Here Is Lying, Not a Happy Family, A Stranger in the House, and Someone We Know by Shari Lapina, My Sister the Serial Killer, The Handmaid's Tale, End of Story, The Girl I Used to Be, The Breakdown, The Dilemma, The Prisoner, and The Therapist, all by B.A. Pears, After That Night, Pieces of Her, The Silent Wife, Girl Forgotten, all by Karen Slaughter, Just the Nicest Couple, Don't You Cry, and The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, The Last to Vanish, The Last House Guest, Such a Quiet Place, and Come Find Me by Megan Miranda. I have not read any books on the shelf, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35. I have not read 35 of the 35 books on that shelf. Moving down some more. I've got Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose, The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, The Lying Game, In a Dark, Dark Wood, One by One, The Woman in Cabin 10, The Death of Mrs. Westaway, 0 Days, and The It Girl by Ruth Ware, The Night She Disappeared, The Family Upstairs, The Family Remains, The House We Grew Up In, and Then She Was Gone, all by Lisa Jewell, The Push, The Lies I Tell, and The Last Flight by Julie Clark, 13 Minutes by Sarah Pinborough, The Wife Upstairs and Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers, The Girl Who Lived, Do You Remember by Frida McFadden, Into the Water, Seeing Red, The Switch, and Overkill, all by Sandra Brown. I have not read any of those books, which I was surprised that I hadn't read Do You Remember by Frida McFadden yet, but I'm probably going to read that pretty soon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 28 books. I have not read 28 of the 28 books on that shelf. Final shelf. So this final shelf has my holiday books and other books that I honestly will not be reading anytime soon. So I've got In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory, The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews, Bright Lights Big Christmas by Mary Kay Andrews, Only for the Holidays, Christmas at the Ranch, Window Shopping, A Holly Jolly Ever After, A Merry Little Meet Cute, Comfort and Joy, The Christmas Fix, The Afterlife of Holly Chase, A Cat Cafe Christmas, One Day in December, Christmas Tree on the Farm. Then I have some financial / self-help books. I've got The Financial Diet, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Turn Your Pain into Art, and How to Be a Boss Bitch. And I've got The Scarlet Letter, A Long Walk to Freedom, A Long Way Gone, Things Fall Apart, and Animal Farm by George Orwell. I have read The Scarlet Letter. I think I read that in high school. I have read parts of A Long Walk to Freedom, so I'm going to count it. I read A Long Way Gone, I read Things Fall Apart, and I actually have not read Animal Farm yet, which is funny, because I should, and it's one of the banned books. I read Turn Your Pain into Art. I haven't read How to Be a Boss Bitch, or I'm just not going to count these, because these are books that I will read, like, kind of sporadically, not like sit down and read it all. So of the books on the shelf, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. And then I have not read 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 19. And I'm going to count Animal Farm, 20. So I've read 8 out of 20 books on that shelf. I am literally adding up the numbers. If you're actually watching this video, take a guess how many books you think are total on my shelf, because I'm adding up the numbers right now and I didn't realize I had this many books on my shelf. Non-duplicate books, by the way. So I'm really excited because like I'm trying to build a library, but I'm also overwhelmed because of the amount of unread versus read books that I have. But I'm still adding up my numbers, so hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm done counting all the books, or calculating all the numbers, and total on my shelf I have 598 books. 598 books on my shelf. I am so close to 600 books, which means I am so close to 1,000 books, which is honestly my goal, is to have 1,000 books so that I can have, I can be considered a library. But that's so exciting. The number of books that I own is so exciting. I'm not gonna lie, go through, because as I was going through this, I was like, some of these books genuinely, I'm really excited. Most of these books I'm really excited for. But some of them, when I was going through, I honestly forgot that I even had them. Didn't really spark like, oh my goodness, I want to read that pretty soon. So I will unhaul some more books. I started an unhaul video and I realized I wanted to unhaul some more books, especially because I hauled so many books for June. Anyway, I am yapping way too much. Let me tell you how many books I have unread. So these are the books on my physical TBR. I have 418 books on my physical TBR. Of the 598 books that I own, I have not read 418 of them, which means I have only read, which sounds so little when I say I have only read, but I have only read 180 books, physical books that I own. And obviously I've read a lot more than that because I listen and I read a bunch on Kindle. So I've obviously read a lot more books than that, but of the physical books that I own, I have only read 180 of them. It comes out to be about 69.8% unread books to read books. So I have read about 30% of my bookshelves, and unread so far, unread is, about 70% of my bookshelves. Moral of the story is to get, my 402 more books to get to make my library, I need to get books that I've read, even out the balance, make it a little bit more. I didn't count any duplicate books, so technically I have more than 598, but I counted only the ones that are like non-duplicate books, and I am way too tired to go through and start counting to add the duplicate books back in. But I have probably about 10 duplicate books, which is not that many, but I didn't count those. But yeah, I am so glad. Oh my goodness. The number, I've been a little scared to count how many books I physically own ever since I moved, really, because I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to be, I was extreme. I was like, it's going to be over 1,000 already and it's ridiculous. But then I'm like, be realistic, girl. You don't have 1,000 books. You would need more shelves. For 1,000 books. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so close to 1,000. My goal, and again, I'm on a low buy, not a no buy, low buy, but my goal is to get to 1,000 books. Yeah, I want to have a home library. That is a goal of mine, and it's very exciting. And I'm going to try to do more books that I've read versus books that I have not. And yeah, I'm not in a rush, by the way. I'm not in a rush to do this. I'm not going to go out and buy 400 books right now. That's ridiculous. But yeah. Whew. Anyway, that was my full, bookshelf audit. This wasn't, I wouldn't say really a tour, but you did get to see every single book that I own. And I told you if I had read it or not, so there you go. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Anyway, I love watching these videos. I got this idea as a combo of, my TBR, like what books are on my physical TBR plus a bookshelf audit. I got this idea from Ellen Catherine. She made a video like this about a month ago and I ate it up. I love watching videos like this. So hopefully this was at least entertaining. If anything, if you're also nosy like me and want to know what people have on their shelves and what they've read and what they haven't read, if you're also like me, I hope this was at least entertaining for that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. This was probably a long one, so thank you so much for sticking with me and spending some of your time on this lovely day with me. And yeah, thank you so much once again, and I will see you in my next video.